Hello and welcome back to the next video in our module on demystifying the accreditation process. This video is going to focus on how to become CompTIA accredited. After going through the general ideas of accreditation, we're now going to be talking a little bit more specifically here. So a review of the steps for accreditation process again are as follows. First of all, you would take the accreditation online training and/or complete your application. Hopefully you have worked with CompTIA staff already and where you're at in those processes. Once the application has been approved, then you complete and submit a self-study report, the SSR, which is the heart of the accreditation process, and we will talk about in much more detail. This SSR draft goes through an initial CompTIA staff review where we look at it for not necessarily meeting compliance, but just is the information there? And then you're allowed to make some revisions as needed. Then all of the SSR and the application go to our team. This is our peer review process. It's generally 2 days for one campus, generally 3 to 4 people. They review the SSR and visit your school to verify the information. They generate a team report. You're allowed to make an official response to that team report, and then that information goes to the commission. Now, for those of you that are renewal applicants, you will note that now there are 4 times a year that the commission takes these actions under consideration. Used to be 2. They have also added their January and July meeting for accreditation decisions, so it allows more opportunities for school. Now, if you're renewal, though, you're of course going to stay on your schedule to be able to keep your grant continuous. Now, CompTIA does offer an optional 1-day consultation visit with our staff. That can happen either before you submit the SSR or after you've submitted it, and maybe before you do revisions. It's a complimentary service, but additional fees for site or travel expenses do apply. So if you're interested in that, please contact our office. It's particularly important, I think, for initial applicants. So the accreditation timeline, this is our most popular question. How long does it take? Well, we have some minimums and some maximums. We generally tell people 1 to 2 years. So let's talk about the maximum. So from the time you complete the training, you have 1 year maximum to submit your application. This is because we want it to be current information. So, and then from the time you submit your application, you have 1 year maximum to submit the self-study report. If these maximums are exceeded, you will have to take new training workshop, you will need to submit a new application and the application fees. So please keep that in mind. Those are the maximums. Now, we get a lot of questions on minimums. Our recommendation is 3 months between application and SSR. This is generally the most realistic time frame, and even this is very, very short. It can be done if you've been working on the self-study report kind of on your own, or if for renewal schools it can tend to go much faster, but that's the absolute minimum, and generally we say 9 months to a year, and you can see that it can take up to 2 years if the school wants it to. So because your application fee is non-refundable, we want to make sure that you know that, really determine the eligibility prior to that. So let's talk about eligibility to apply and the application itself. CompTIA requires that all massage, should say bodywork as well, or aesthetics programs be a minimum of 600 hours. They also need to be state approved. This is the institution itself needs to be operating legally in the state. So if you're brand new initial applicant, the first step for you is to go to your state agency and get approved to open your school. We only accredit post-secondary institutions, which means, of course, after high school, after 12th grade completion. Now, this is a change. Our eligibility criteria is now that there has to be at least 5 students enrolled in each program eligible for CompTIA accreditation. This replaces the 2-year opening requirement and the 20 graduate requirement. It's to allow new schools to start sooner, new programs or schools to start sooner, because it can take a long time. So at least 5 students enrolled in the program. So you have to be up and running, essentially. Now, we want to also make sure that your curriculum is not only 600 hours, but it does meet the CompTIA competencies. This is often the biggest part of the accreditation process. It takes the longest, and it is a requirement for application that you have completed the competency chart, aligning your curriculum with the CompTIA competencies for massage bodywork or aesthetics. We're going to talk more about that in the upcoming modules. And of course, all this information is on our website in perhaps more detail, so please look there. So application for either institutional or programmatic, what else is there to think about? Well, if you're wondering which you are, what are you applying for, here is your answer. In order to be institutionally accredited by CompTIA, all of the school's programs must be massage bodywork or aesthetics related. That is our scope from the Department of Ed. We're a specialized agency in only those areas. So essentially, if there's other programs at your school beyond that, you would have to do programmatic. If you have questions about some of the nuances of that, please contact our staff. Institutional accreditation, also you need to publish a catalog that meets the requirements in our catalog checklist, and you do submit that with the application. You also need to demonstrate sound financial standing. Now, how this is done is actually through independent reviews or audits, and we have CompTIA financial guidelines to talk more about that. So that's important that you you know that that is an important requirement. Now, programmatic, if you think, well, I have other programs at my school, not massage bodywork or aesthetics, then I'll be programmatic. But you do have to make sure that the institution you're in is already institutionally accredited. This is a Department of Ed regulation. So this would be, for example, if you're in a larger corporate school that's got accreditation by somebody else or a community college, then you are eligible. Your program, of course, then must clearly be identified as either massage bodywork or aesthetics. And a heads up that we do have the requirement that there's one full-time employee is responsible. This can be something that you can add in as you go through, but we want you to know that that is a standard. So as promised, the self-study report really is the heart and soul of this process. So once you've applied, you have access to the self-study report in our system. It is the foundation of review for accreditation. It's a comprehensive self-study report that you submit and create and submit, and it provides a structured framework for self-evaluation. The term self-study report is very important. Some agencies may call it actually an SER, a self-evaluation report. Through this process, the program or institution is able to look at the quality of your work, and it also helps a team of visiting specialists to identify strengths and weaknesses. So it obviously provides the basic evidence that an accrediting body uses to determine whether the accreditation standards are met. But notice that there are some other goals to that as well. It's what the commission uses to make an accreditation system, decision, but it is also designed, the process is designed to help you work through and make improvements in your program. So the components are a narrative. There's two basic components where you describe how your school meets each of the CompTIA standards. And then there are exhibits to substantiate it. If it's not documented, it doesn't exist. Now, all of our self-study reports are now submitted online via the Advera Accreditation Management System, AMS. If you have not already received access to this system, please contact our office. This is where your application is submitted through, as well as the self-study report. However, we do want you to know what is a part of that. So even before you have access in the system, you can see the narrative and exhibit requirements. This document is a part of this course, CompTIA Self-Study Report and Standards, the newest version. It's also on our website, and it lists all of the requirements, all of the standards, as well as what you need to do to show that you meet those. So let's talk more specifics on timelines. Now, the SSR is due 8 months prior to the meeting because, as you saw, there's a lot of steps that have to happen. Now, for those of you renewing, you will notice this is slightly different. We have shortened it. We've tried to be more efficient in how we do the process. So instead of 9 months, it's 8 months. We're also trying to get some more user-friendly deadline times, like not January 1st, which is hard for both schools and staff to deal with that type of a deadline. So we make 4 accreditation decisions. So for January accreditation, you need to have submitted your SSR by May 1st of the previous year, obviously. To be up for an April accreditation consideration, the SSR is due August 1st of the previous year. This used to be July 1st, it's now August 1st. Gives you an extra month. Now, if you want to be up for a July meeting, you need to submit by November 1st of the previous year. And October consideration is now February 1st instead of January 1st. So there are some changes. Applications, we take applications all the time. You can submit an application at any time. We take self-study reports really at any time. But depending on when we get them is when you can be up for consideration at the next meeting. So May 1st, August 1st, November 1st, February 1st are the deadline months to keep in mind. I have to say though that this is never guaranteed, particularly for initial applicants. If you get it in by August 1st, it doesn't automatically mean you're going to be ready for the April meeting. And quite frankly, you wouldn't want it that way. If there's a lot of work that needs to be done that staff or reviewers say, hey, there's too much here that's not going well or up to the standards, you would probably want to take some extra time for that and be pushed back to another meeting. But this is an important slide. I'm leaving it up for a while because those are our deadlines: May 1st, August 1st, November 1st, and February 1st. So writing the self-study report, some notes about that. It really is designed to be an excellent learning experience for your organization. As such, teamwork is recommended. It's not required because sometimes there's not a very large team if it's just you, but we really do believe in teamwork and working together on this. You are to answer the questions factually and succinctly, but always remember you're describing, not defending. You're describing how your institution or program meets the standards. Keep in mind we have a huge diversity of programs and schools around the country, and they can meet the standards in a lot of different ways. So outside reviewers just need to understand what's going on in the school, and that's where this self-study report really happens. So when you're answering them, be concise, report how your school meets it, and really let the personality of your school or program come through. And of course, we need the supporting documentation. If you have not been collecting it, collect it now. And the specifics of what we need when we say supporting documentation are in that SSR document that's in this course. And remember, we're not looking to grade how you operate. The SSR is to guide you to meet all the accreditation standards. So accreditation is done by peer review, as mentioned before in the earlier course as well. And we rely on the expertise of our volunteers, both for the off-site SSR review as well as, of course, the on-site visit. We maintain a list of potential reviewers, a participant pool. If you're interested in being a part of that, please contact our office. These people have been approved. They've gone through an interview and application process, and based on their credentials, they can qualify to review certain standards. And we do want to assure you that we have very strict, first of all, confidentiality guidelines and requirements, and we also do take note of conflicts of interest. We want to make sure there are no real or perceived conflicts of interest during this process. So when we're assigning reviewers to schools, we look at that as well. But remember that peer reviewers make the initial objective assessment, but it's really the commission and only the commission that makes the ruling on accreditation, not the reviewers and not CompTIA staff. We just provide them with the information. So, commission decisions 4 times a year. What can happen when you've either submitted your SSR or another report, for example, after you've been accredited? Well, here are our official actions. Accreditation up to 7 years. If you're renewing, this has changed. So your next renewal can actually be up to 7 years instead of 5. It can be conditional accreditation. This is accreditation, it is full accreditation, but there are conditions placed on it that need to be improved in order to stay accredited, with a certain amount of time. Accreditation decision can be deferred. This is not an adverse action, it's a non-action. It means they're not going to make the decision now, and that can be deferred up to 6 months. A denial of accreditation. Once a school is accredited, the other action available to the commission is a show cause that accreditation should not be revoked. This is, of course, an adverse action, as well as probation or revocation. All of these are described in more detail in our Policies and Procedures Manual, which is on our website, as well as in the course. So before we get too much further, particularly for initial applicants, we do want you to know that there is more that is expected once you're accredited. There's 2 different reports now. This is a slight change as well for our renewal people. So you're going to submit an annual report. Instead of January 1st, it's now December 1st of every year. Everybody's annual reports are going to be due on December 1st of each year. This is starting in 2015, and we will get you the information for that if you have not already received it. It is current enrollment data, student completion and placement data, any changes you have. There's a report form that you fill out. It's certainly much shorter than the SSR. And then there's another report that you submit every year, and that is your annual financial report. We have split that out from the annual report process. That is still going to be due within 6 months following the end of your institution's fiscal year. So if your fiscal year ends December 31st, it's due July 1st. And we will get you confirm those deadlines as well. But so you have the annual report December 1st, and then you submit your financial report at another time. And institutional accreditation, if you're institutionally accredited, the report you're going to be giving is your independent review compiled or audited statements. If you're programmatically accredited, we're actually just accepting the current program budget to show ongoing support from the institution. There are sustaining fees. This is how CompTA operates. This is our operating budget, comes from our sustaining fees. So they're actually due March 1st of every year. So that's another deadline to be aware of. That is simply because that's when our CompTA's fiscal year begins, March 1st of every year. Invoices will go out a few months prior to that. Now, annual fees or sustaining fees are based on revenue. For institutional accreditation, it's a sliding scale based on the revenue generated by the school, or for programmatic accreditation, it's based on enrollment numbers. And please see our current fee schedule. Always make sure you have the most up-to-date fee schedule for what the current fees are in order to budget. We do send invoices, but this will help you. The fee schedule is attached to this course as well. Now, there may be other fees if there are major changes, what we call substantive changes that happen between accreditation periods. You may be required to file these with a fee. This may include a change of ownership, a change of, or an additional location. That would have a higher fee because we'd have to do a site visit, an additional program, substantive change. Please see our policy and procedure manual for this, because this is there's a lot of details in there. And if you have questions, of course, please contact us. So we are available for questions, clarifications, guidance. Our phone number, our email, and our website is up there. We are going to move on to more specific details on how to be accredited and the self-study report lessons. Thank you very much.